inviting me. My name is Anna, and I'm a lawyer. I'm a litigator, but I also have academic background in psychology and occupational therapy, and I worked around 10 years in the field of occupational therapy, but then I moved to law, and currently I'm in the NGO where there are lawyers, psychologists, OTs like me, and social workers, and we are involved in litigation. And out of 7 board members, 3 persons have disabilities. So we're closely related to this theme. We work not for persons with disabilities, but also with persons with disabilities. And what we do is mainly we're suing public and private entities when they are discriminating. So today I want to present 2 cases of our litigation, and prior to presenting those 2, we think, positive cases, I should mention that Georgia ratified UN CRPD several years ago, but Georgia didn't ratify optional protocol. We're still using UN CRC Child Rights Convention's optional protocol when we have children with disabilities, and we are also using other mechanisms, but most of all, it's very important to say that court system and judges are getting more and more sensitive to the issues of disabilities, and for several years already, we are bringing a lot of lawsuits, and we're seeing progress. So today's cases I'd like to present refer to women with mental health issues and intellectual disabilities, because as it was mentioned in this webinar, intersectionality is a very important issue between disability and gender. So we've been representing women. The first case is a typical case. It's not only individual incident, because as you are aware, well, in post-Soviet countries we have a quite complex system, mental health system, and we still have psychiatric hospitals, we still have institutions. So we think that a lot of women with disabilities are treated are discriminated on the grounds of disabilities. So the first case refers to a young woman, and she was following yoga herself, and Eastern philosophy and spiritual traditions, and it appeared that her family member, mother, didn't approve her interest and practice, and in 2015, with the request of a family member, she was involuntarily hospitalized in the mental health clinic, and unfortunately she couldn't manage to get in touch with the lawyer. She didn't have her phone with her, and communication means very restricted. But after leaving mental health clinic, she contacted us, and then there was another involuntary hospitalization, and we qualified as a restriction of her liberty. So in 2017, she was hospitalized because, well, a family member again called for police, and when police appeared, they didn't put enough attention to the fact that there was domestic violence, in fact, and because they learned about her diagnosis, which we do not pay attention when we work as lawyers, of course, because we treat a person as a human right, as a person having human rights, not a person having a diagnosis, for example. So because of the diagnosis, she was transferred not to the shelters for the victims of domestic violence, but to the psychiatric hospital. And there, well, she didn't manifest typical behavior, so they didn't apply any treatment. She continued her spiritual practice, and after several days, we managed to appeal the decision of the first hospital and then decision of the court, and we managed that she was released. And the court held for her, deciding that there were that actually there were no conditions for her to be detained, and that police didn't pay attention to the facts signaling about domestic violence. But this continued. Actually, we filed the lawsuit against hospital, psychiatric hospital, and this lady, with our legal aid, requested compensation for the moral damages because she was detained while she shouldn't have been detained, and it was illegal detention. And actually, we also won this case, and she's been awarded by the first instance force compensation, and then the decision was appealed in the appeal court, and in around 10 days we expected the final, not final, but at this moment, the decision. And well, this court litigation appeared to be significant because in other cases as well, we managed to have this practice. So now a lot of people, including police officers, are giving a second thought before they make a decision, taking a woman with disabilities who is a victim of violence to the psychiatric hospital instead of a shelter for the persons with disabilities. And another case, very important case, refers, as I mentioned, the case of a woman with intellectual disabilities. And unfortunately, in Georgia, Georgian government doesn't have any viable plan about the institutionalization. So a lot of people still remain in the institutions, boarding houses, and different facilities. And this woman, Sophia, was placed in the infant house, and then she grew up, and then he was transferred to another institution for persons with disabilities. She got married there, and to another person who is also staying in the institution, and they have a child, 3 years old. And well, with our legal aid, she requested from the government, local self-government actually, to get apartment, and she requested that she has a right to private life, family life, right to live in the community. And fortunately, we won this case as well, and this person and her partner left the institution, and currently they live in the community. However, we're still in the process of helping her returning her child, because it's not enough to have an apartment. It was rightly mentioned by the presenters that there should be a lot of assistance, a lot of facilities in place, personal assistance, and we believe that we will succeed with this case as well, and Sophia and her husband will get their child back and will get appropriate support from the government. So those two cases for us are really very important, because we think that these cases give hope to others, and we have multiple cases, not only these two. Actually, we have a strategy. Our strategy is that we don't want to talk on behalf of persons with disabilities, but we believe we're very good lawyers, if I'm not boasting now, because we'd like to listen to them, and then we'd like to educate a legal society about the needs of persons with disabilities. And for example, we have won cases even before the reasonable accommodation was provided in our law, because we think that court system can be very activist court, and we think that if we unite our forces and efforts, we will manage to create good precedents in terms of strategic litigation.